Hey, when it comes to algebra, what is a trinomial and how do you factor it? Well, in this lesson, that is exactly what I'm going to show you. How do you factor trinomials? So let's get to it. So first of all, what is a trinomial? That is the first thing that we need to try and figure out. So a monomial is basically an algebraic expression by itself, just one. A binomial is an algebraic expression with two terms. This has one term for a monomial, and a binomial has two terms. What do you think a trinomial is? You guessed it. It's an algebraic expression with three terms. So say we have x squared plus 2x plus 4, something like that. So that is what a trinomial is. Algebraic expression that has three terms. So now the question is, how do you factor it? First of all, what is factoring? So factoring is, say I have 3 times 4 equals 12. Well, when you have two numbers multiplied by each other, what you get is the product, right? But the terms that you multiplied in order to get the product, those are called factors. So basically, I'm going to show you how to factor a trinomial. We're going to pull out the factors of the product of a trinomial, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So let's get started. All right, so our first problem is going to be x squared plus 4x plus 3. Okay, so first of all, before we even do this problem, I need to show you something in reverse, something called the FOIL method, because basically you can take two binomials, multiply them by each other in order to get a trinomial. And I need to show you that so you can see how this works. So say, for instance, off to the side here, we have x plus 2, x plus 3 multiplied by each other. These are two binomials, algebraic expression with two terms each. So if we use the FOIL method to multiply these, FOIL, F-O-I-L. Let's do it this way, F-O-I-L. Now bear with me for a minute because I'm going to show you how to solve these problems and be able to check your answer using the FOIL method. So bear with me for a second. So the FOIL method, in order to multiply two binomials, is first outside, inside, last. So basically, the FOIL method shows you what terms you're going to multiply by in order to find your answer when you have the product. And I'm going to show you what does that mean when it comes to trinomials. So let's do the FOIL method with this problem. So it says the first terms you see in each parentheses are x's. So x times x is x squared. The next thing we're looking for is the outside. If you were to look at this in a linear fashion, the outside here would be an x and a 3. That's what's located on the outside. So x times 3 is 3x. Then our next part of the FOIL method is the inside. So what's on the inside? You see a 2 and an x. So 2 times x is 2x. And then lastly, the last part says last. So the last two terms you see are 2 and 3. 2 times 3 is 6. What we're going to do is we're going to combine like terms. So you have 3x plus 2x, which is 5x. So our answer is x squared plus 5x plus 6 is the product of x plus 2 times x plus 3. Now I want you to notice something, because this is what's going to help you factor a trinomial. This is a trinomial. 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms. But notice this is a 5x. 2 plus 3 is 5. This is a 6. 2 times 3 is 6. Notice this pattern. Adding the last two terms and then multiplying the last two terms gives you what they call the coefficient or the number here. So keep that in mind. That's what's going to help you solve when you factor trinomials. So x plus 2 times x plus 3 is x squared plus 5x plus 6. So we found that multiplying two binomials here and here gives you a trinomial. So now how is that going to help us when we factor? We're just going to do what we just did in reverse based on the pattern. Remember, the pattern for this one is 2 plus 3 gave me the 5. 2 times 3 gave me the 6. All right. Okay, so going back to our x squared plus 4x plus 3, remember in our pattern. So we know that there's going to be two binomials, x and x. So basically, we need to find two numbers that when you add them, you get 4, but when you multiply them, you get 3. So let's take a look at this. So we've got basically, how do you add up to get 4? You could do 2 plus 2, or 3 plus 1, or 4 plus 0. And then what can you multiply in order to get 3? Usually that's 1 times 3. So we see a 3 and 1 in common for both of those, so we'll use 3 and 1. So basically you have x plus 3, x plus 1. 3 plus 1 gives you your 4. 3 times 1 gives you your 3. See how that works? So now we're going to use the FOIL method to see if that's correct. So FOIL meaning first, outside, inside, last. So let's do that. So our first would be x times x. That is x times 1, which is just x. Our inside is 3 times x, which is 3x. And then our last is 3 times 1, which is 3. So now we're going to combine like terms. We have x squared, and then x plus 3x is just 4x, and then plus 3. And there you have it, x squared plus 4x plus 3. So remember, the FOIL method is taking two binomials, multiplying them in order to get the trinomial. When you factor your trinomial, you can use the FOIL method to make sure that your answer is correct. So hope that helps. We'll go ahead and move along to the next problem. Okay, so our next problem is going to be x squared plus 5x plus 4. And we're going to factor this trinomial. So remember, binomials multiplied by each other usually give you trinomials. So we have x here, and then we need to find two numbers that when you add them, you get 5, and then when you multiply them, you get 4. So let's say you could do 0 plus 5, 1 plus 4, 2 plus 3. Those are what you can add in order to get 5. In order to get 4, you could do 4 times 1, 2 times 2. So we see the 4s and the 1s are in common. So here we're going to say x plus 4, x plus 1. You add 4 and the 1, you get 5. You multiply 4 and the 1, you get 4. So now we're going to do our FOIL method again. FOIL. First, outside, inside, last. When we multiply these, our first is x times x. It's x squared. Outside is x times 1, which is x. Inside is 4 times x, which is 4x. And then last is 4 times 1, which is 4. We combine like terms. X plus 4x is 5. So we have x squared plus 5x, which gives you our original problem. So we did that correctly. So the factor of x squared plus 5x plus 4 is x plus 4 times x plus 1. Okay, so let's move on to the last problem. Okay, so our last problem is x squared plus 7x plus 12. Remember, always write your problems down. A lot of times students will just look at a piece of paper or look at a problem and expect to figure it out, but you need to write it down. You need to write down every step. That is going to be the way you connect with the problem. I mention that in almost every video because that is 90% of why kids and students get math problems incorrectly, because they don't write them down. They think that they can just pick up the answer through osmosis and just by looking at it. That's not going to work. So write down your problem. X squared plus 7x plus 12. Okay, so our last problem, x squared plus 7x plus 12. So we're going to make our parentheses for our two binomials. We know the first is going to be x squared. So we need two numbers that when you add them, you get 7. When you multiply them, you get 12. So we could do 0 plus 7, 1 plus 6, or 2 plus 5, or 3 plus 4. And then with 12, you could either do 12 times 1, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. So what we have in common, we've got the 3's and the 4's. So here we'll say we have x plus 3 and x plus 4. So now the way we check it is we FOIL our first terms. Our x times x is x squared. Outside, x times 4 is 4x. Inside, 3 times x is 3x. And then 3 times 4 is 12, plus 12. Combine like terms, x squared, 4x plus 3x is 7x. And then we have our plus 12, which is our original answer. So I hope that helps. But one thing you've got to notice with this easy assumption that you take two numbers and add them, and you take those same two numbers and multiply them to get these numbers, notice that everything is positive. But what if you had x squared minus 7x minus a 12, for example, or x squared plus 7x minus 12? It's going to be a little bit different. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to factor trinomials that have negative numbers in them and sometimes are mixed with negative and positive numbers. These are all pluses, which give you that easy way to look at just multiplying and adding two numbers in order to get your trinomial. But in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do it with a mix of negative numbers and positive numbers. So I hope this helps. If this helps you, send it to someone else, and we'll see you in the next video.